Hey YouTube, welcome to my channel. I want to show you something. Check this out. This thing here is a beast. This is a gas-powered RC Hummer. It's, I don't know, can I even spin it around? It is so big and so freaking heavy that, yeah. So I got this from the UK last year and I never really took it out and drove it. So it's just been sitting in my basement. So my plan is this summer, this baby's coming out for a ride. But until then, welcome to episode number 4 of Drone Talk. First topic on the agenda is the Hubsan Zino 2. Did you order a Hubsan Zino 2 and you still don't have it? Well, this is the Hubsan Zino 1 Original and the Hubsan Zino 1 Pro. I don't have the Hubsan Zino 2 either, and I'm a reviewer. Now, for most of you out there, you're going to get your Hubsan Zino 2 around February 10th or earlier, hopefully. Apparently, there's all these backroom deals that went on between Hubsan and GearBest, and yeah, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. I guess somebody forgot to scratch somebody else's back. It's the Chinese New Year. Nothing's happening in China right now. And even Hubsan says, don't call us, because look what they posted. And that pesky Chinese New Year is not only affecting Hubsan. Companies like Hotel, they've got the EVO 2 coming out, but it's delayed because Chinese New Year, they're not building the EVO 2 over in China right now. All the tools are down. This is the EVO 1. So they have to wait until they start building them again in China, and then they'll start shipping them to North America and distributors, and then you'll be able to buy them. And that affects even massive companies like DJI. You know, nothing's being made, nobody's working until after the Chinese New Year. Then we'll start seeing releases of new drones by DJI. First one to come out is the rumored Matrice 300. That's how I pronounce it, Matrice. Is that how you say it? Matrice 300, and that's more a commercial drone, big massive thing. I think the first consumer drone by DJI to come out will be, see this, my little Mavic Air here? I think they're gonna make the Mavic Air the first one to come out. I could be totally wrong, they could come out with a bigger Mavic, but I think they're gonna start slow and start with this, and make sure when they come out with a Mavic, if they come out with a Mavic 3, that they get it right so that it's so amazing that you'll wanna buy it. Might not be until the fall though for that Mavic, so I really don't know. But this one I think is the first one you'll see on the market sometime in the spring. Next topic is the DJI FPV goggles. You know what? I was doing an update to the goggles because DJI really is coming out with a ton of updates for all their FPV stuff. So I had to do another update for these. And if you're not into the FPV world, all their FPV products, you got to plug them into a computer and do an update. There is no attachment to a cell phone or a tablet and do it over the air. Everything is connected to a computer. So the last update I did on the goggles in the month of January, it included a statement in the update saying what the future update was going to be. And let me read what the future update to these is going to be. It says, coming in the next update, you will have the ability to view HDMI live broadcast by connecting these goggles to the DJI Smart Controller. So that means there's a lot of you out there who have purchased the DJI, you know, those massive goggles, the racing goggles that they have, the ones that will make you single for the rest of your life if a woman ever saw you wearing those. Well, it appears that they're going to allow you to use these, which are way better, but they're really expensive. So you can fly your Mavics with your Smart Controller, and if you have a pair of these, you're all set. You're going to be gold, and women won't run away from you as fast. All right, the next topic we're going to take a look at is actually brought to you by you. One of you viewers wrote to me and asked me this question, and I'm going to talk about it. So the viewer who wrote to me, I'm going to put it up on the screen. This was Stud You Like, and he says,
one thing that would be good to see is advice on the second-hand market of drones. Things like what to look out for, what drones are still worth buying, and what are not.
So let's take a look at that, buying used drones. The first item to clarify is do not confuse buying a used drone with buying a refurbished drone. A used drone comes as is, and, you know, buyer beware. And a refurbished drone comes with a warranty. Big difference. So now you're asking, what the heck are refurbished drones? Well, refurbished drones are usually drones that, let's say a company had a bunch and they went to CES and they had drones all over the table, or they've used them at different shows or live demonstrations. Well, those ones are considered refurbished. They just bring them back into the shop, they fix them all up, clean them all up, make sure they're really good, almost as good as new, and then they sell them for about $200 less. As well, say you have a drone and it's not working properly and you send it back to the shop, well, they'll send you a new drone, and usually that drone that they've received from you, they just fix it, clean it up, and make it like new, and they sell it again as refurbished, and probably the one you got in return is probably a refurbished drone as well. And finally, a lot of refurbished drones also means drones that they could not sell. So say a company like DJI has a model out and they've made too many of them and they've moved on to a newer model. Well, the older model, they will basically either try to sell it, or if they discontinue it and they still have product left, they call that refurbished. Now, a lot of people buy refurbished drones for various reasons, especially DJI drones. Say you're flying a drone, you have your controller and your drone, you lose it in the ocean or the water. Well, you're left with the battery charger, maybe some extra batteries and your controller, but you have no drone. So you just go on the DJI refurbished site and you can actually buy the drone itself for a pretty low price. You can also get entire drone kits in the refurbished market. You can even get just separate parts in the refurbished market. So if you've never checked out the refurbished stores, all you do is go on Google, type in the name like DJI, and then put space, and then put refurbished. That's it. Type in unique, space, refurbished, type in hotel, space, refurbished. You get the idea. Now let's get into buying a used drone. There's bad and there's good. So let me start with the bad. If you buy a used drone sight unseen, that's pretty much the bad, because you don't know what the heck you're getting. The only way I would buy a used drone sight unseen is if the seller, say you bought it off of eBay, say the seller had a 100% return policy. In other words, if you don't like it, you can send it back free of charge and you'll get your money back. But you don't see that too often, so I would really stay away from buying a used drone sight unseen unless you really know the seller. So that's the bad. Now, what's the good? Well, when you buy a used drone, the good is this. You save a ton of money, and most people who buy drones will buy, say it didn't come with a case, they buy a case. Say it didn't come with extra batteries, they buy extra batteries. Say it didn't come with a lot of spare props, they buy spare props. And they buy tons of filters, all these great things. And normally what happens is they throw all that in with the drone, so you get an awesome deal. You're probably saving hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of dollars in deals like that. So that's the good. So now if you know nothing about a drone and you're going to buy your first drone, you're probably going to do the very beginner thing and say, excuse me, sir, can you fly this for me? And a lot of times the person who has the drone may fly it for you or may not fly it for you, but that doesn't tell you the whole story. So I'm going to give you some tips on what to look for when you go buy your first used drone. All right, since I've got the Autel EVO sitting beside me, I'm going to use this as my example. So say you were coming to check out and buy this Autel EVO because there's going to be a ton of people selling these because the Autel EVO 2 is coming out. So you're checking this out. First thing you do is check out the props. Look for any dings or nicks in the props. If you see them, that tells you right away the guy flew it into a tree or into the ground. So you gotta be a little bit suspicious. There might be damage elsewhere. And yes, ask to look at the spare props because there will be spare props, and check those for dings and nicks because he could have just put on the new props. Next thing, check these arms. These arms are very tight to go out on most drones. They should just snap into place. Make sure they do that. If you have an accident, they won't snap anymore. If they crash, there'll be something loose here, so they have to snap and lock into place. Make sure you check that. The motors on a good quality drone are brushless, and that's what you want to look for. I would never buy a used drone that doesn't have brushless motors. Check out the motors and make sure all four of them spin nicely like that. You don't want to hear any grinding sound. If you hear grinding sound, again, it means the person probably crashed the drone. He's got twigs in there, some sand or whatever, so yeah, you want to stay away from that. Pretty much all drones on the market are made out of plastic, and plastic will crack if it crashes. So look around, look for scuffs, chips, big scrapes or anything like that in the plastic frame. If you don't see any, and you don't see any in the props and the arms are good, you're getting a pretty good indication that the drone has probably not been crashed, which is a good thing. And yeah, that could be a good sign for what you're going to look at next. So all the good quality drones will have a LiPo battery, which is pretty much the best you can get right now for drones. Now, LiPo batteries will last for a long time if taken care of. They're all covered with plastic all around them. The battery's actually on the inside. Check for swelling. If the battery is swollen, it will actually crack the plastic. A swollen battery means like it's pretty much at the end of its life, and yeah, you're not going to get much use out of it, and I wouldn't trust flying with it because your drone could fall out of the air. So check for any swelling. Just take a look at the battery. If it swells, you'll see the sides puff out, the bottom or the top. And a lot of times, especially on an EVO and some other drones, if the battery starts to swell, you're not going to get it on or off. It's going to be very tight to get on or off. Now for this next one, if you visit somebody to check out their drone and it's nighttime, they're probably not going to fly it for you. Or maybe even if it's daytime, they don't want to fly it. So you're going to have to check out a few other things yourself. One is to, I would suggest, remove the props And the reason I say remove the props, I didn't do it here, but I should have removed the props and then power it on, and just make sure the indicator lights, you know, they're on the arms and the back here, make sure they're all functioning properly. Also, by powering on the drone, the gimbal will start up, and it should always point to the front no matter which direction you point the drone within reason. So here I have my drone here, and if I lift this up, you see how the camera keeps on pointing forward no matter which way I move it here. So that tells you that a gimbal is working properly if your drone comes with a gimbal. See, that's pretty darn good. And even if you go back and forth, side to side, it should move a little bit. One thing I always recommend is the camera lens. Look at your drone on an angle with some light reflecting on it and check the lens to make sure there's no scratches. Sometimes owners of drones will have the camera pointing downward, and when they land, it hits the ground, scratches into a rock or something, or they put filters on and they scratch the lens. There you go. You can see it's nice and shiny. So all good there. Some drones have a removable piece of glass in the front, so even if it is scratched, you can remove it. Now, depending on the drone, I can't show you here because all drones are different, but a lot of them, like a DJI drone and even Autel, in the app itself, when you look at the app and you have it on the controller, it tells you how many times the batteries have been charged. So that gives you an indication of how often the drone has been flown. And just to keep in mind, some drones on the market have flight records, so it just keeps a count of how many flights you've taken, for how long, how far, what height, what distance, and all that other good stuff. And it's in one nice little document, and you can look at it, and that's usually available in the app. If you ask the owner to show you that, they'll know where it is and they can show you. And it's also a good idea when you have the props off the drone to just start up the motors. You'll get an error message on your screen when you start up the motors because they're expecting to have props on them, but at least you'll see if all 4 motors spin. One last thing I would highly recommend is, even if you don't fly the drone and it's just sitting in the guy's house, turn it on, as I've mentioned, remove the props just in case somebody hits a button and it takes off. But remove the props, and when it's powered on, you can actually take snapshots. Hit the button to take a photo, take a video. It will do it, and then you can play it back right on your controller, the phone, whoever the owner is. They will show you that you can play back the video and the photos. Just take a look. And the last thing to check out is the controller for the drone itself. These controllers get a lot of abuse because as a pilot, they're in your hands. You sweat all over them. Sometimes they get liquid spilled on them. Liquid can damage it. You'll know if there's liquid spilt on the controller because just look for discoloration. Also check all the buttons, make sure they all make a clicky sound and they all work. If anybody's got gummy or sweaty hands, they'll mess up the buttons and they won't work. They'll stick in place and that's going to ruin your flight. So you want all the buttons to click in and out. And make sure you have 2 antennas. I actually had a friend who bought a Mavic Pro, showed me the Mavic Pro, and I'm like, wow, you got a great deal. That Mavic Pro's in great shape. Then he showed me the controller and I'm like, why does your controller only have 1 antenna? So he didn't realize that a controller is supposed to have 2 antennas, and the guy who sold it to him had broken an antenna off, and he didn't know, so he thought it was all good. Still worked, but it only had 1 antenna. And the last thing to look for is a warranty. If someone has a drone and they've only had it for a short period of time and it still has a warranty on it, that's pretty darn good. Usually warranties are 1 year from date of purchase. As well, sometimes people, depending on the drone, will buy extra protection, and it makes the warranty last a little bit longer for damages, crashes, anything like that. And if they have that, well, then that makes it all the better to purchase because then your drone is quite safe. So now I'm going to run through a list of drones I feel are really good to purchase used. You're going to get your best bang for the buck if you can find these drones used. And let's start off. A lot of them are the high-end products, so that's why I say they're good, because they were really good technology when they came out. They had an awesome build quality, and buying them used, they're just as good. Although, when you buy a drone used that's older, you're not going to get any firmware updates. You're not going to get any new capabilities. But the good stuff is that it usually means that if you have an old phone or an old tablet, a lot of the old software will work on that because it doesn't require the more modern stuff. The first drone to get would be the DJI Phantom 3 Pro. If you can find that used, a lot of times I see them used everywhere. That is the one to get. If you get anything less than that, they have the Phantom 3 Advanced, Phantom 3 Basic, I can't even remember, Phantom 3 4K. Ignore all those look for the Phantom 3 Pro. That was the better drone of the bunch, and that's the one you want to get used. The replacement for the Phantom 3 Pro was the DJI Phantom 4. That drone I see sold a lot, and a lot of people get ripped off when they buy it because the advertiser might advertise it as a Phantom 4 Pro. But it's not a Phantom 4 Pro, it's a Phantom 4. The reason I say that is because currently you can buy the Phantom 4 Pro brand new from DJI, so you don't see a lot of those used, but you will see the old Phantom 4. That one you'll find used. And it's basically the same as the Phantom 3 Pro. It just has a few more sensors, but the cameras are almost identical. There's not much difference, so the prices on the Phantom 3 Pro and the old Phantom 4 should be quite similar. And of course, the most popular drone on the market today would be the DJI Mavic Pro. If you can get your hands on one of those with a case and some spare batteries and all the other good stuff, then you got yourself a great deal. Right now, if you buy that new, you can't, but you can buy the Mavic Pro Platinum new, and that's, you know, it's under $1,000. So you should be able to get a used one much lower with extra batteries in a case and filters and props and all the other goodies that you can get with those things. And a lot of people would complain if I didn't mention to buy the Spark, the DJI Spark used. That's a discontinued drone. It's one of my favorites, and I would always recommend to anybody, if you can find a DJI Spark at a good price, definitely buy one, especially if it comes with extra batteries. As mentioned at the beginning of this video, the Autel EVO 2 is coming out, and a lot of people are selling this one, the Autel EVO, the original one. So start looking around your used markets to find this one. This drone is like a $1,000 drone. But that's $1,000 with one battery and not much else, maybe a little hand carrying bag, if that. So you'll find a lot of people selling these used. You'll probably get 3 batteries, maybe a case, some filters, and some other goodies. So check around. You're probably going to get some good prices in the next few months on the Autel EVO. Now on the unique line of drones, the only drone I recommend used that people have had great success with is the Typhoon H line. You can go all the way back to the original Typhoon H. If it's in good condition, hasn't been crashed, then that's a great buy. And even up a few models after that, because they still make the Typhoon H and they make newer models. So the older models are all for sale and at super low prices, like $500 or less. Yeah, so that's pretty much all I have to say on buying a used drone. If you have any questions, you know, post them below, but please do not send me a question like, hey, here's the link to a drone that this guy's selling. What do you think? Is it a good deal? I'm not going to answer those because I'd be sitting at my computer for weeks on end answering those. Now, as we move forward with drone talk and get to episode 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, I will try to include every now and then a question from you, the viewers, as I did in this episode. So if you have any requests for future episodes of Drone Talks, you know, topics you'd like me to discuss, by all means, post them below. And if I use your suggestion for a future episode, I will include your comment in the episode. Now, before I end this video, a lot of you have asked me before for the bloopers reel. I don't really have a bloopers reel. If something goes wrong, I kind of edit it out all the time. But I was checking through some videos, and every now and then I have little things that go wrong in a video, not really bloopers. So I'm going to title this portion of this video and future ones, Things That Go Wrong in a Review. So here's one. Watch this.
Oh yeah, look at that. And
so mine, I have a switch on mine right here, on off. Oh, you must hit your keys, or I hit my keys?
it's you.
Okay, I got. Damn! Set off the alarm on my car! Stop! There we go. Oh, that bird's going nuts over there. While I was recording this episode of Drone Talk, the doorbell rang and there was a delivery guy and he brought this. This is my little Betaflight backpack that I'm going to use for my DJI gear, FPV gear, because this is very oddly shaped and the controller is not a normal size controller. So this is the backpack here. Yeah, it looks like a B, and you can see on the top. So if I take the DJI FPV controller right here, this is mine, all marked up for my stuff. It fits in here nicely. Close that. Hard case at the top for protection. And you can see inside right here, the silver parts to put your LiPo batteries, little flame retardant section. Of course, if a battery goes on fire in here and it's on your back, it's going to get kind of warm. Fit my little goggles up here, and then my other little items down here. You could put a small drone in here, but I'm going to put the drones on here in the front. Strap them to the front. And this is your tool bag. You put all your tools in here, and it is detachable handle right here that you can take with you, so you can walk out to your drone, fix it, repair it, and then stick it back together. So you'll see me using the Betaflight bag whenever I'm using the DJI FPV system. This is the bag I'll be using. And that brings me to the end of this episode of Drone Talk. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up. I would very much appreciate that. And I can tell you this, we are having some balmy weather coming up this weekend. It might be 0, freezing, which is kind of warm for here. So I might be able to get out and do some more drone reviews of all sorts of types of drones and different cars and all sorts of things. And you'll see them in future episodes. So for now, I say thanks for watching. Take care. Have a great weekend. Catch you in the next episode.